Good day, class. For today, we're going to discuss about RNA viruses. So for RNA viruses, for today's discussion, i-divide natin ang mga RNA viruses into 4 based on their Baltimore classification. So first one, we have the class 3, the double-stranded RNA, class 4, positive sense single-stranded RNA, class 5, negative sense single-stranded RNA, and lastly, the class 6 single-stranded RNA reverse transcriptase. So first, we briefly describe muna what are RNA viruses. So as the name implies naman, makikita nyo RNA. So basically, it has ribonucleic acid as its genetic material. And as mentioned a while ago, meron tayong 4 na Baltimore classification na kabilang dito. So, class 3, class 4, class 5, and then yung class 6, yung reverse transcriptase, yung RNA genetic material. The virus has RNA genetic material, however, it utilizes DNA intermediates in their life cycle. And as compared to the DNA viruses, RNA viruses has a very high mutation rates. So, ito yung mga didiscuss natin for today. So, okay, first, we have the class 3 double-stranded RNA. So, first is the Reoviridae. So, for the viruses, meron tayong rotavirus and orbivirus. Okay? Ang strand nito is double-stranded RNA. Siya lang naman ang kaisa-isa dito. Symmetry, meron siyang icosahedral, and then presence of envelope, it is naked. So this table, makikita nyo yan all throughout the discussion. No? So take note of that na lang para at least mas mapadali yung buhay nyo. Okay? So for today, ang didiscuss lang natin sa family Reoviridae is the rotavirus. So this is most common cause of gastroenteritis in children ages 6 months hanggang 2 years old. Okay, take note of that, no? So rotavirus, most common cause of gastroenteritis in children ages 6 months to 2 years. And then fecal oral route to, and makukuha yan from contaminated food and waterborne infection. And that's it. Tapos na agad yung class 3. So, class 4 na tayo. So, class 4, positive sense single-stranded RNA. So, first family is the Caliciviridae. Caliciviridae, ito yung mga viruses niya. Calici virus, Norwalk-like, and hepatitis E virus. So, yan yung mga medically important, no? However, we are not going to discuss about Norwalk na, no? Because this is technically sa mga dito sa UK, sa US, dyan siya common. So, sa bansa natin, hindi common ang Norwalk. However, Calici and Hepa E virus, yan, madalas yan. Okay? So, sa strand niya, malamang single-stranded RNA, symmetry, icosahedral, and it is naked. Okay? Caliciviridae, meron tayong dalawa i-discuss today, calicivirus and then the hepatitis E virus. So, calicivirus associated with epidemics of mild gastroenteritis. Okay? Predominantly, ang as compared dun sa previous one sa rotavirus, no, calicivirus sa humans, epidemics of mild gastroenteritis sa mga children din to, predominantly in children 6 years above. Okay, so yan yung difference niya kay rotavirus. So similar siya kay rotavirus na gastroenteritis. Itong calici, mild lang, and 6 years old above siya madalas tumama. Okay? So, fecal oral route din to, and contaminated food and water. And then we have also the hepatitis E virus under the family Caliciviridae. Siyempre, it causes liver cirrhosis. hepatitis. So, nasa pangalan na mismo, hepatitis, inflammation or infection of the liver. Okay? So, liver cirrhosis. Madalas, yung tawag sa hepatitis E is the NA and B, or what we call the non-A and non-B hepatitis. No? Tandaan nyo yan. Pag nakita nyo na yan, NA and B hepatitis, ibig sabihin non-A and non-B hepatitis. Because as we all know, hepatitis A and hepatitis B are the two common viruses na nag-i-infect ng liver, and subsequently magiging hepatitis, no? So hepatitis E is the most common non-A and non-B hepatitis naman. Okay? So fecal oral route din po ito. Next family is the family Flaviviridae. So Flaviviridae, madalas sinasama din to sa mga arboviruses, no? Makikita nyo yung arbovirus na yan all throughout the slides, especially kapag arthropod born yung mga virus, no? Arthropod born. Ano kasing ibig sabihin? Sabi sa CPH, pag sinabing arthropod born, ibig sabihin may mga vectors na such as yung mga mosquito, mga ticks, gano'n, etc. Okay? So, first, we have the family Flaviviridae. Ang mga viruses dito, we have the Japanese encephalitis virus, the dengue virus, which is very common dito sa ating bansa, yellow fever, St. Louis encephalitis, and West Nile, and lastly, yung Zika virus, no? Ang strand dito, we have the single-stranded RNA, icosahedral, and it has envelope. Okay? So, Flaviviridae, ayan, nakasulat dito, arboviruses. Pag sinabing arboviruses, ano kasi? Arthropod-borne viruses. Okay? Tandaan nyo yan, no? So, arboviruses. So, Flaviviridae, ito yung mga viruses na clinically significant under it. Number 1, we have the St. Louis encephalitis. It would cause fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and ayan, dumobling headaches and vomiting. Okay? Lumarahin yan. And syempre, pag lumala yan, it may develop to neuroinvasive disease. So basically, almost all of the Flaviviridae naka-input sa kanilang genetic code na kapag lumala sila, mag-invade sila ng CNS, no? So, technically, yun yung kanilang pagkakatulad-tulad. And, kaya nga siya tinawag na encephalitis dito, no? And, number 2, we have the Japanese encephalitis. Ito naman, mas severe form ng SLE. SLE dito, hindi tinutukoy yung lupus, no? Ang tinutukoy natin dito is the St. Louis encephalitis. So, mas severe form of the St. Louis encephalitis is the Japanese encephalitis. Okay? Next, we have the dengue. So, meron tayong two types of dengue. Number 1, we have the classic dengue. So, yung symptoms nito is milder than the second one. So, yung second one is yung mas malala, yung to the point na na-admit na yung patient, no? And yung nangangailangan ng platelet concentrate, no? Yan yun. So, first one, we have the classic dengue. The second one, ito yung mas malala, dengue hemorrhagic fever, or the DHF. Okay? Dengue hemorrhagic fever. So, this is one is the worst one, no? Of the two. Okay? So, classic dengue, mild symptoms lang. Yes, bababa yung platelet mo, bababa yung WBC count mo. Pero yung symptoms, hindi ganun kalala. Dengue hemorrhagic fever, on the other hand, maaring mag-bleed na yung ating patient. From the word itself, meron siyang hemorrhagic. So, magkaroon ng hemorrhage sa mismong loob ng katawan niya, no? Or pwede rin mag-bleed siya outside sa mga injection sites sa ika nila. So, vector, we have the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Alam niyo yan. So, symptoms, we have fever, headache, severe bone pain, backache, fatigue, and muscle pain, myalgia. And tinatawag din ang dengue as breakbone fever. Okay, take note of that. Dengue is also known as your breakbone fever kasi people tend to think na their bone, dahil na-infect sila ng dengue, yung mga buto-buto nila is in so much pain, no? Kaya breakbone, to the point na feeling nila is na sisira na yung mga buto nila. Okay? Next, we have the yellow fever. So, from the name itself, yellow, ibig sabihin, merong jaundice. Ito yung picture, no? Merong obvious na jaundice yung bata. So, headache, backache, nausea, jaundice, extensive damage to the liver, the kidneys, at saka sa heart. So, napakadelikado din. Okay? So, headache, backache, nausea, jaundice, dinadamage niya din yung liver, kidneys, and heart. And next one, we have the West Nile, no, or the West Nile virus. So, fever, headache, fatigue, occasional rush on the trunk, swollen lip glands, and or eye pain. And last but not the least is the Zika virus. So, ito, naging common to nung nasa Brazil Olympics, no? So, Zika virus. So, it can be transmitted through exposure to the infected blood or sexual contact, no? Pwede rin itong galing syempre sa mga arthropod, sa mga lamok. Okay? And natakpan yata. So, sa baba, nakasabi dyan, sabi niya is similar symptoms to other related viruses. So, similar lang siya dyan sa mga nabanggit previously. However, ang pinaka-significant kay Zika virus, natandaan nyo, is it can be transmitted from mother to baby. Okay? Pwedeng matransmit ang Zika virus from the mother to the baby. And ano yung mangyayari sa baby? Ito po. Ang tawag dito, microcephaly. Okay? So, ang newborn niya, mas magiging maliit yung skull formation, no? Mas maliit yung magiging yung ulo niya. Okay? Kapag yung mother infected with the Zika virus and then na-transmit niya yung virus to her newborn, so ang mangyayari is microcephaly. Okay? Next is the Picorna viridae, or sa ibang libro, Picorna viridae. So, nasa sa inyo na yan. So, bakit siya tinawag na Picorna viridae? Kasi nga, from the word itself, pico, ibig sabihin is small. So, pag nakita nyo na ang mga Picorna viridae, ang una nyong iisipin is they are all small viruses. So for this virus, meron tayong enteroviruses, rhinoviruses, polio, dalawa lang pala, sorry. Enteroviruses and the rhinoviruses. So, sino-sino yung mga yan? We have the polio, Coxsackie virus, echovirus, and the hepatitis A virus. So, strand niya, single-stranded RNA, icosahedral, and they are all naked. So, Picornaviridae or Picornaviridae or the rhinovirus, ito yung pinaka-common na virus all throughout the year, which is the common colds, no? Rhinovirus, common colds, self-limiting lang to. So, basically, inom tubig at pahinga lang to, and then okay ka na. So, mild respiratory illness, including nasal congestion, yan. So, ang common colds can be life-threatening for immunocompromised patients because it would cause severe pneumonia. Severe pneumonia for immunocompromised patients. Pero kung healthy ka, self-limiting lang. So, basically, madaling gumaling. Okay? Or madaling mawala. So, rhinovirus yun. Next is the enteroviruses. So, enteroviruses, we have 4. Number 1 is the polio. So, primary symptoms is in the respiratory, followed by viremia. Ano kasing ibig sabihin ng viremia from the word itself? virus na present sa blood. So, presence of the virus in your bloodstream. So, viremia. So, magta-travel yung virus na yan. So, nasa bloodstream nyo na siya. Sa skin mo, sa heart mo, as well as sa meninges. The most common polio is asymptomatic lang. And this is what we call abortive poliomyelitis. Again, the most common polio is asymptomatic or what we call abortive poliomyelitis. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya magpapakita ng mga obvious signs and symptoms of the polio. In rare cases, we have what we call aseptic meningitis or what we call the non-paralytic poliomyelitis. Non-paralytic means hindi ka naman mapaparalisado, hindi ka mababaldado ng polio. Symptomatic na siya. Aseptic meningitis meaning it would infect your meninges, however, it would not destroy your skeletal muscles, no? So, hindi ka mapaparalyze. The most severe form of your polio is that the virus becomes cytolytic na. Cytolytic means lysis. Sisirain niya yung cells. Anong cells yung mga sisirain niya? The skeletal muscles. And once they destroy the skeletal muscles of your patient, of a patient suffering from polio, ito yung mangyayari. Mababaldado siya. So, this is what we call paralytic poliomyelitis or pwede rin lang sabihin mong poliomyelitis. So, ito na yan, no? Kawawa. So, yan, polio. Okay? Next, we have the Coxsackie. Coxsackie, aseptic meningitis, then myocarditis, and rash. Coxsackie is the most common cause of your hand, foot, mouth disease ng mga children or yung tinatawag na herpangina. Yan. Sorry. Okay? So, again, Coxsackie, the most common cause of your hand, foot, mouth disease or your herpangina. So, ito po, no, yung picture ng herpangina na may obvious na white ulcers sa loob ng oral cavity ng patient mo. Okay? Next, we have the echovirus. Echovirus, aseptic meningitis, fever, respiratory infection, and paralysis as well. So, medyo kahawig niya si polio dito. And lastly, we have the Hepa A or the hepatitis A virus. Again, this is one of the most common hepatitis along with the hepatitis B. Common din ang hepatitis A. Okay? So, liver infection, fecal oral route, tapos it can spread from mother to baby. I'm not sure if nakikita nyo yung sa baba, no? But in my presentation, no, while I am recording, nakatakip yung sa baba. So, sulat ko na lang para sure. Okay? So, again, hepatitis A is the one of the most common hepatitis causing virus, no? Along with hepatitis B. Okay? Next is the coronaviridae. So, kilala nyo yan. So, in other books, they include coronaviridae under the rhinoviridae, no? So, ang gagawin na lang natin for today is ihihiwalay natin siya since coronaviridae is very very much a public health risk, no, na tinatawag. So, coronaviridae is a public health risk, tapos it is highly contagious, no? Highly contagious, masyadong nakakahawa. Okay? So, unang panahon, this family of viruses they came originally from animals. Okay, so these are animal viruses na napunta sa isang human susceptible host. So, yan yung mga yan. Ulitin natin, Coronaviridae or the family Coronaviridae is considered a public health risk. Tandaan nyo yan. Public health risk. They are highly contagious. Okay? And originally, they came from animals. So, these are considered as animal viruses na nag-infect ng isang human susceptible host. Okay? Ganda na sulat ko. Okay? So, yan. So, for the viruses under the Coronaviridae, we have the SARS-CoV-1, yung better known as your SARS. SARS-CoV-2, or yan na yung COVID-19. And lastly, we have the MERS-CoV. Okay? So, yung strand yan, single-stranded RNA, symmetry, helical. Helical po ito, no? So, ito yung pinakaunang helical natin for the day. Madalas kasi icosahedral nakikita natin. So, ito, helical. And they are envelope. So, Coronaviridae. So, yan ha. Even though na mukha siyang bilog pa rin, mukhang icosahedral, sa loob niya, yung genome niya, helical yun. Okay? Tandaan nyo yun. So, Coronaviridae, we have the SARS-CoV-1, SARS-CoV-2, or the COVID-19 and MERS-CoV. Pag sinabi pa lang SARS, ang tinutukoy natin dyan is Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. Ulitin ko, pag sinabing SARS, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. Okay? Yun yung SARS. Siyempre, yung CoV yan, Coronaviridae, tapos yung number. Okay? So, pag sinabing SARS, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. Yung MERS naman, that is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. Pag sinabing MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. Okay? So, Coronaviridae, pandemic respiratory diseases ang tawag natin dito. Sila yung madalas na nag-i-infect ng buong mundo, technically, no? Kasi nga, they are highly contagious, nakakahawa talaga. So, it requires intense public health intervention, massive screening programs, voluntary quarantine, and travel restriction. So, technically, lahat ng to, alam na alam nyo because recently lang we have experienced a pandemic from a COVID-19. So, from a Coronaviridae. Okay? So, person-to-person direct infection ito is person-to-person by direct contact, pwedeng droplets, and airborne routes. So, Coronaviridae targets the epithelial cells of the respiratory tract. Kaya nga yung initial symptoms ng isang patient suffering from a SARS, no, or a COVID-19 or a MERS, no, unang-unang tatamaan sa kanya is yung kanyang respiratory tract. Maaring upper respiratory tract, maaring lower respiratory tract, maaring both. No? And then, it may develop, it may also infect your spleen, your lymph nodes, no? Yung digestive tract, yung urogenital, CNS, bone marrow, tsaka heart. Bone marrow and heart. So, Coronaviridae, ang sabi dyan, access the host cells via the receptor for the enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme 2 or yung ACE2, no? Tandaan niyo yan. Ang COVID-19, so COVID-19 lang pinag-uusapan natin dito, no? Meron siyang yung kanyang receptor is the ACE2, no? may angiotensin converting enzyme 2. So, yung spike proteins niya, yung makikita yung mga yan, corona niya, yan. They attach to the ACE2 receptor of cells. And yung ACE2 receptor na yan, or yung angiotensin converting enzyme 2, present yan almost all throughout your body. So, kaya nga ganun kabilis mag-infect yung coronavirus na yan. Okay? So, for your respiratory tract, tatamaan niya yung ciliated epithelium. Hence, ano mangyayari? Yung mas dry yung throat or yung lalamunan, masakit, sobrang sakit ng lalamunan ng isang patient, no? Next, sa CNS, tatamaan niya yung olfactory epithelium, kaya nga nawawalan ng pang-amoy or ng panlasa yung isang pasyente na suffering from COVID-19, no? Because meron ding ACE2 receptor yun. The next one, GI tract, yung kanyang glandular cells of the gastric and rectal epithelium. So, there are cases na nagkakaroon ng diarrhea from the COVID-19. Meron din mga pananakit ng tiyan. And pinakamalala is from your cardiovascular, meron siyang ACE2 receptors sa heart mo mismo, no? So, napakadelikado. So, these are the SARS-CoV-2 variants na as of now, ito na yung mga medically significant na variants. We have the Alpha, which is the B117. It is the UK variant. Beta, which is the B1351, the South Africa variant. Gamma, which is the P1, the Brazil variant. Delta, the B16172, the India variant. And lastly, yung pinaka-recent, which is the Omicron or the Omicron, the B11529. It infects almost 57 countries and counting, no? Napakadami. Next, we have the class 5, the negative sense single-stranded RNA. The first one, we have the Arinaviridae. Okay? So, ang viruses dito, we have the Old World and the New World viruses. Pero ang pinaka-significant of all of this Old World and New World is the Lassa virus. Okay? So, single-stranded RNA. Symmetry, it is complex, and then may envelope, wala, naked. Okay? So, for the Lassa virus, this is technically zoonotic. Zoonotic meaning this came from animals, which is the rodents. Okay? Rodents ang kanyang zoonotic transmission. Most of the Arinaviridae or the Lassa virus infection are asymptomatic naman. So, sa lahat ng Arinaviridae, Lassa fever na yung pinakamalala. Pero, most are still asymptomatic. So, some patients may suffer from fever, headache, pharyngitis, myalgia, diarrhea, and vomiting. And please take note pala, pag narinig nyo ang Arinaviridae and yung Lassa virus, unang-una nyong iisipin dito is yung fever niya. And anong klaseng fever? Paki-take note po, it is hemorrhagic fever. Okay? So, similar kay DHF or dengue hemorrhagic fever, yung Lassa virus also is hemorrhagic in origin. Okay? Next, we have the Bunya viridae. So, Bunya viridae is also considered as your arbo. Kasama din siya sa arboviruses. Okay? So, ano kasi? Pag sinabing arboviruses, galing sa arthropod. So, arthropod-borne yung inyong virus. So, for this case naman, we have the LACV or the Lacrosse virus, and then the Rift Valley, California, encephalitis. The CCHF, yung Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Then, we have also the hantavirus. So, dito, among all of these, 4 lang discuss natin ngayon. Okay? So, LACV or yung lacrosse virus, ito rin yung tinatawag na Rift Valley virus. So, mosquito-borne po ito. Next, the California encephalitis, it infects your brain and liver. So, mosquito-borne din. CCHF or yung Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. The infect nito is your vascular endothelium and your liver. Okay. So, ito naman, the difference is, it is tick-borne. Ayan, galing sa mga ticks. Next one, we have the hantavirus. Ito yung tinatawag na HFRS. Okay? Hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. Hantavirus, tandaan nyo, HFRS. Hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. Okay? Ni-infect niya yung peritoneal, yung kidneys, yung thoracic cavity. So, hindi nyo naman thoracic cavity. So, peritoneal, kidneys, thoracic cavity. So, continuation na to, no? Thoracic cavity. And lungs. No? So, yan yung mga in-infect niya. Again, hantavirus, hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, peritoneal, kidneys, thoracic cavity, and lungs. Ang difference niya among all of the arboviruses, ang hantavirus, siyang tanging hindi manggagaling sa arthropod, no? Hindi siya galing sa insekto or sa mosquito, mga ticks, mga langaw. Hindi. Galing siya sa rodent droppings, sa mga mouse. Okay? Rodent droppings meaning galing sa tae, sa ihi, no? So, ganun, ng mga daga. Okay? So, all of these, hindi ko pala naisulat, no? Lahat sila, they cause febrile illnesses. Okay? Lahat sila febrile illness, lahat sila hemorrhagic fever, or pag pinakamalala, encephalitis. Again, ang mga Bunya viridae, mga LACV, California encephalitis, CCHF, hantavirus, Rift Valley, lahat yan, febrile illness, hemorrhagic fever, and worse, encephalitis. Okay, next. Next, we have the filoviridae. So, from the word itself naman, makikita nyo, philo, mukha silang filarial. Yan. Okay? So, yan. Philo. Yan. So, filoviridae, we have the Marburg and Ebola virus. So, ito na yung mga nakakatakot, no? Ito yung mga madalas pinapakita sa mga TV shows, na mga medical TV shows na mga outbreaks, no? Yan. Marburg and Ebola. So, it is a single-stranded RNA with the complex symmetry. Yan. And envelope. Yan, makikita nyo naman, no? Mukha talaga silang mga bula-bulate, mga filarial worms. Okay? Pero virus yung mga yan, syempre. So, Ebola tsaka Marburg, they require the BSL or the Biosafety Level 4. Okay? And then, ang mangyayari sa patient is fever, chills, myalgia, and anorexia. Tapos, it will also develop to sore throat, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. And kapag yung pinakamalala na, no, yung worst comes to worst, kapag nagtagal na yung virus sa system ng isang patient suffering from Ebola and Marburg, the patient would bleed from injection sites yan. The patient would bleed from injection sites and the GI tract. Okay? Again, bleeding or hemorrhage from injection sites. So kung saan ka lahat ng butas mo. So basically, ayan, kung makita nyo itong patient na to from a medical series, di ko na alam kung saan. Kita nyo, sa mata niya, umiiyak siya dugo, sa tenga niya, sa ilong niya, sa bunganga niya, yun. From all the possible injection sites ng patient na to, magbi-bleed siya. Okay? So, bleeding from injection sites and the GI tract. Next, we have the orthomyxoviridae. So, dito, influenza lang. Pero yung influenza na yan, marami yan. From A, B, C, D, F, G, etc. No? Influenza. So, orthomyxoviridae, tatandaan nyo, they have matrix proteins. Matrix proteins. So, M proteins. And meron din siyang mga nucleoprotein. Yan. NP. Again, orthomyxoviridae, meron silang matrix protein and nucleoprotein. And if you remember yung previous discussion about the lab diagnosis, sila yung sa hemadsorption or hemagglutination tests, no? Orthomyxoviridae. So, influenza virus, single-stranded RNA, helical yan, and envelope. So, orthomyxoviridae, okay, so influenza, meron yang hemagglutinin antigen or the HA, okay, and neuraminidase. Again, influenza, meron siyang hemagglutinin antigen and neuraminidase. Sorry. Yun. Dalian na lang natin. HA and NA. Okay? Yung hemagglutinin antigen, they attach to the sialic acid of the glycoprotein's surface of the RBC, mga RBCs, and the mga respiratory epithelial cells. So, yung hemagglutinin antigen niya, yan yung reason nag-a-attach yung virus sa mga surface ng RBCs tsaka ng mga REC. Okay? On the other hand, the neuraminidase antigen or the NA, yan naman ang dahilan why the virus itself fuse to the host cell membrane. Nagsasanib sila, no? Pag nag-attach siya dun sa, kunwari, ito yung RBC, ito yung virus, nag-attach siya, pagka-attach niya, makakapasok na siya. So, yung dahilan, yung pag-attach niya, ang dahilan doon, yung HA. Yung pagpasok niya, or yung pag-fuse niya with the cell, ang dahilan doon is DNA. And then, the fusion to the host cell membrane causes what we call the hemagglutination. Okay, yan yung hemagglutination. And influenza is spread through aerosols and respiratory droplets. Yan. So, ngayon, ang question, bakit laging may mga flu shots every year or every other year? Ang dahilan doon is what we call the antigenic drift and the antigenic shift. So, ang difference yan. So, antigenic drift means every 2 to 3 years, nagkakaroon ng minor mutations to the HA and NA. And dahil doon, it causes local outbreaks. Kaya kung napapansin nyo, every year, if you don't have your flu shots, malamang sa malamang, there's a high chance that you're going to be infected with influenza. And every 2 years or 3 years, iba yung influenza na nag-infect sa'yo, no? Nung 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and yung nag-infect na influenza sa'yo to this year or today, no? So, ganun. Iba iba na yun, nag-mutate na yung virus na yun. So, sobrang lakas ng virus na to in terms of its mutations. Okay? Pag sinabi ng mga antigenic shift, okay, ito na yung mas malala. So, ito naman every 10 years. However, nagkakaroon ng major antigenic changes. Usually, due to evolution, mas nagiging siyang adaptable from severe tag dito, nagiging siyang adaptable sa mga gamot, ganun, no? Mas nagiging adaptable siya sa weather, sa temperature, and etc. So, from several factors, nagiging silang adaptable. So, tumataas yung survivability ng influenza virus, kaya nga, yun yung nagiging change sa kanya. Okay? So, major antigenic changes, and of course, it would cause pandemics. So, ano ba yung mga naging major influenza outbreak sa na nakasulat sa mga libro? Number 1, we have the H1N1 or yung Spanish flu ng 1800s. So, ito yan. Nagkaroon ng Spanish flu noong 1800s. So, ang dahilan doon is the influenza virus. And then, recently lang, meron din tayong tinatawag na swine flu. Ang swine flu, H1N1 din yan. Okay? Take note of that, no? So, Spanish flu and swine flu, H1N1 yan. So, yung mapapansin nyo, yung H at saka N. So, yung H na yan, yan yung code for the hemagglutinin, whereas yung N, syempre, yun sa neuraminidase. So, H1N1. Yung H2N2, that is your Asian flu. No? And then, H5N1, yan, naging kaso din yan recently, avian flu. Okay? So, yan. Next is the Paramyxoviridae. So, Paramyxoviridae, we have the parainfluenza, mumps, measles, respiratory syncytial virus, and the human metapneumovirus. So, lahat ng Paramyxoviridae, they are all single-stranded RNA. They are helical in symmetry, and they are enveloped. Yan. So, Paramyxoviridae, they have mild infection or mild respiratory infection. Okay, ulitin natin. So, pag Paramyxoviridae, we have the para-influenza. Kulang siya ng letter I. Okay, para-influenza. Not to be confused with influenza, which is nasa orthomyxo. Ang difference ng dalawang yan, first and foremost, syempre, ang orthomyxo or yung influenza virus, meron siyang HA tsaka NA. Dito naman, whereas yung para-influenza, it has already the pinagsamang hemagglutinin neuraminidase, which is the HN. Okay? HN antigen and then the fusion antigen. Okay? And then, pareho silang nagkakos ng respiratory tract infection, ng pneumonia. However, para influenza could lead also to hepatitis, and yung severe form niya is meningitis. Okay. The second difference is yung influenza virus, madalas they would infect their hosts sa mga cold seasons natin. Pag rainy season, ganyan, o kaya pag sa abroad, yung mga winter, ganun. Whereas yung para-influenza, they would infect sa mga springs, sa summer, ganun. So, dito, pag dry seasons. Okay? So, next, we have the mumps. So, mumps, yan yung beke. Ayan, ito. So, mapapansin nyo, it would cause parotitis. Parotitis, syempre, infection ng parotid glands. Okay? Or yung pag-inflammation pala. So, inflammation ng parotid glands. Yan, namamaga siya. So, dito naman, meron din siyang hemagglutinin antigen, tsaka neuraminidase antigen, pero with hemolysin. Yan. Sorry pala, lahat pala ng orthomixo tsaka ng paramixo, no? As mentioned sa lab diagnosis, hemadsorption, testing, tsaka hemagglutination. Okay? So, take note of that. Huwag nyo makakalimutan yan. So, mumps is included in your MMR vaccine. So, pagka panganak nyo, bibigyan na kayo ng MMR shots. So, MMR vaccine kasama si mumps. Sino pa yung kasama? Yung pangalawa. Yung pangatlo, which is the measles or yung rubiola. So, measles is highly contagious childhood disease. Okay? So, ayan. Measles yan. So, madalas makikita nyo is the Koplik spots. Ito. So, nagkakaroon ng lesions on the oral mucosa. So, pag sinabing Koplik spots, yan yung irregular red spots with bluish white speck in the center. Yan. Yan. Ulitin ko. Pag sinabing Koplik spots, those are the irregular red spots with bluish white speck in the center. Ulitin ko. Koplik spots. Ito yan. Irregular red spots with a bluish white speck in the center. Okay? So, kanino yan? Kay measles or rubiola. So, Koplik spots and lesions on the oral mucosa. Ang measles, hemagglutinin antigen lang meron siya. Okay? So, again, kasama siya sa MMR vaccine. So, sino yung kasama? Si mumps, si measles. Yung R, mamaya pa natin makikilala yun. And lastly, we have the respiratory syncytial virus. So, ito naman, mild respiratory and ear infection. Dito naman, neuraminidase lang siya. Okay? Si neuraminidase. Okay, isa-isa natin. Si para-influenza, meron siyang hemagglutinin neuraminidase antigen, HN antigen, and fusion antigen. Okay? HN and F antigen. Si mumps, meron siyang hemagglutinin antigen and neuraminidase antigen with hemolysin. Okay? Next, si measles or rubiola, hemagglutinin antigen lang. Si respiratory syncytial virus, neuraminidase antigen lang. Okay? So, yan yung kanilang mga pagkakatulad. Next, we have the what the book says na deadliest and the most fatal of all viruses. That is your Rhabdoviridae. Sa Rhabdoviridae, isang virus lang yan, si Lissa virus. No? Lissa virus or yung causative agent ng Lissa virus rabies. Okay? So, single-stranded RNA, ang kanyang symmetry, helical, pero, ito yung tatandaan nyo, bullet shape. Yan. Yan yung kanyang significant characteristic. Bullet shape siya. Presence of envelope? Yes, meron siya. Envelope siya. Again, Rhabdoviridae, deadliest, most fatal. So, basically, pag na-infect ka nito, merong 6 out of 10 chance na hindi ka na di mo siya ma-survive, no? So ganun siya nakakatakot. Okay? So rabies, galing yan from a bite from an infected animal. So infected animal lang, no? So there is still no cases ng isang human host na infected with the Lissa virus rabies, tas kinagat niyang isang another human na na-infect na siya, wala pang ganun case. So, ang pinaka route of infection niya pa lang is from a bite of infected animal. Pwede rin na matransmit siya from cutaneous lesions and inhalation of the virus itself. So the virus binds to the neurons, no? Tapos sa CNS. Okay? So una, kaya ang pakilala dito kaya nga siya bullet kasi mabilis siyang pumunta sa utak, parang bala ng baril talaga, no? So kaya bullet shape nga daw siya. So ganun yung sinasabi nila. Okay? So agad siyang pupunta sa neurons and then pupunta siya ng central nervous system. So pag nakapunta na siya doon, kakaroon ng seizures, disorientation, nilitaw na yung hallucination, and eventually paralysis. Okay? So sabi sa histopath, ang isang pasyenteng infected with rabies, no, meron siyang characteristic na gray bodies. So pag tinignan nyo yung kanya brain biopsy, okay, so madalas ang tinitingnan is yung brain biopsy ng infected animal na kumagat dun sa patient, no, papatayin, tapos i-autopsy yung utak, no, titignan kung may negri bodies. So yan yun. Okay? And kapag hindi mahanap yung animal na yun, so bubuksan yung utak ng patient para makita ng negri bodies. So dati yun. So ngayon meron na tayong mga other molecular testing for rhabdoviridae. So pero take note of this pa rin. Negri bodies. Ano ba yung negri bodies na yan? So negri bodies means yung mga characteristic na dark spots found in the cytoplasm of an infected brain cells. Again, negri bodies, yan yung characteristic na black spots found in the cytoplasm of infected brain cells. Okay, kanina yan? Kay Lisa virus na rabies. Next, we have the Togaviridae. So, viruses dito, we have the alpha virus and the ruby virus. So, single-stranded RNA with the helical symmetry, the presence of envelope siya. So, alpha virus, meron tayong dalawa, the Eastern equine encephalitis and the Western equine encephalitis. So, nasa pangalan niya mismo, equine meaning horses. So, it infects humans as well as horses. So, galing siya sa arthropod. Yan, arbovirus din siya, no? Tapos, maaring ma-infect yung usual host niya is yung kanyang mga birds. Tapos, maaari din siyang maka-infect ng horses and humans. Okay? Yun yung alpha virus. Whereas yung ruby virus, ito or tinatawag na rubella. So, ito yung German measles. Okay? So, febrile illness with erythematous maculopapular discrete rash. Okay? Tapos, humans are the only host. So, tayo lang ang host ng rubella. So, ito rin is included in your MMR vaccine. Again, ano yung included sa MMR vaccine? Number 1, we have the mumps. Number 2 is the measles or yung rubeola. And lastly, yung R, which is the rubella or yung sa German measles. Okay? So, MMR vaccine. And lastly, sa ating class 5, we have the hepatitis D virus or yung sa family of Delta Viridae. So, HDV, okay, or the hepatitis D virus, single-stranded RNA, icosahedral, naked. So, naked siya originally, pero it requires the Hepa V surface antigen for the envelope. Okay? So, hepatitis D. Technically, pag meron ka ng or if you are infected with the hepatitis D virus, ibig sabihin, you have the most severe form of hepatitis. Okay, ibig sabihin, nasa yun na yung pinakamalalang hepatitis. Okay, ulitin natin, hepatitis D virus is considered as the most severe form of hepatitis. So, it would cause liver cirrhosis. And syempre, eventually, magsha-shutdown na yung mismong liver mo. It requires you liver transplant, no? So, ganun na siya kalala. Meron tayong dalawang klase ng infection from the hepatitis D virus. And lagi siyang may need na kasama. Ito yung tatandaan nyo, no? Hepatitis D virus cannot work on its own. It would always need ng kasamang accompanying another virus. No? Kailangan niya pa ng iba pang virus na kasama niya. Okay? Number 1, we have the co-infection. So, Hepa B virus and Hepa D virus. Pag sinabi namang super infection, yung Hepa D virus na yan, may kasama na siyang chronic Hepa B infection. Ibig sabihin, sobrang tagal na ng hepatitis B doon sa pasyente mo, sobrang lala na ng atay niya, na liver niya. And papasok na talaga si hepatitis D. So again, co-infection, acute na HBV infection, as well as the HDV. Pag super infection naman, nagiging chronic HBV infection with the hepatitis D virus. Okay? And that's it, no? Next is the class 6, or the last, ito na yung pinaka-last, no? Single-stranded RNA reverse transcriptase. So, we have the Retroviridae, ang kaisa-isang family na medically significant sa Baltimore class na to. So, we have the Oncorna virus as well as the lentivirus. Okay? So, ano yung kanilang strand? Single-stranded RNA reverse transcriptase. Symmetry, they are all icosahedral, and then they are enveloped. So, Retroviridae, meron tayong dalawa. Oncorna virus and lentivirus. So, dati, Oncorna virus lang to. Okay? So, ngayon, hiniwalay na HTLV kay HIV. Okay? So, Oncorna virus, HTLV1 and HTLV2, dati, pinagsasama si HTLV, HIV, HTLV2, HIV2, ganun daw siya. Pero ngayon, hiniwalay na yung dalawang yan. Okay? Again, going back, Oncorna virus, HTLV1, HTLV2, associated with several leukemias, sarcomas, and lymphomas. So, technically, these viruses are not cytolytic. So, that is the main difference ng Oncorna virus sa lentivirus. First, they are associated with leukemia, sarcomas, and lymphomas. Okay, so technically, mga cancers, okay, or sa mga neoplastic diseases, no? Whereas yung lentivirus, which is the HIV1 and HIV2, yan yung magkukos ng lymphopenia. Sila yung cytolytic because they destroy the CD4 T helper cells. And then, syempre, those CD4 T helper cells, as na-discuss nung immunoserodase nyo, yan yung nag-help sa immunity, sa immune response, no? So, pag mababa na yan, mababa din yung inyong immunity from diseases. So, death occurs as a result of opportunistic infections. So, secondary yung infection na makukuha mo. So, hindi directly ang papatay sa'yo is the 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 human immunodeficiency virus. No. Ang papatay sa'yo would be what comes after the HIV, no? Yung mga opportunistic infections. So, by the way, hindi ko pala nabanggit, no? Pag sinabing HTLV, that is the human T lymphocytic virus. Human T lymphocytic virus. Yan. Kasi yung mga retroviridae na yan, dediretso talaga sila sa T lymphocytes, no? Kaya yung HTLV, human T lymphocytic virus. Pag naman HIV, that is the human immunodeficiency. Human immunodeficiency naman, kaya siya tinawag na ganyan kasi nga cytolytic siya. De-destroy niya talaga or sisirain niya yung mga T helper cells, mga CD4 T helper cells. Kaya, and then, magkukos ng immune deficiency. Okay? So, human T lymphocytic virus, HTLV, HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. So, HIV would lead to AIDS. Okay? So, AIDS is the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So, they attack the CD4 T lymphocytes. Tapos, ito yung mga opportunistic infections na magaganap sa'yo. Number 1 is yung diniscuss natin no midterms, that is the pneumocystis carinii pneumonia, isang fungi. Number 2, CMV or your cytomegalovirus. Number 3, cryptosporidiosis. Number 4, isosporiasis, sa mga parasites. Number 5, candidiasis. Okay. Yeast. Number 6, toxoplasmosis. Yan, parasite naman. Number 7, mycobacterial infection. So, yung mga TB, yung mga leprosy, no? Yung mga yun. And lastly, cancer, or, ang HIV or yung AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, would develop into Kaposi sarcoma. Ito, nasa picture nyo to. That is what we call the Kaposi sarcoma. Dito na lang Kaposi. Yung iba Kaposi, yung iba Kaposis sarcoma. So, kahit ano yung siyang isulat, as long as nandun yung Kaposi, pwede yun. And yung sarcoma, syempre. So, that is yung Kaposi sarcoma. So, retroviridae, they have the retroviral enzymes. And yung mga enzymes niya, dalawa, we have the reverse transcriptase, RNA-dependent DNA polymerase na pwedeng matranscribe yung RNA into DNA. So, hindi niya na kailangan ng tulong ng machinery ng cells. So, siya mismo, it could transcribe yung RNA niya into DNA. Hence, could infect yung cell na much better. Okay? The second one, meron siyang integrase. Integrase is a viral genome na pwedeng incorporate dun sa host cell. So, integrase is a viral genome to be incorporated to the host cell. And next, we have the HIV proteins. So, tatlo yan. The GAG proteins, Pol proteins, and the envelope proteins. So, GAG or yung group-specific antigen proteins, ang reason ng proteins na yan is for the stability of your retroviral capsule. Okay? So, ano yung mga yan? Mga protein 24, P24, P17, and P7P9. Okay? Tandaan nyo yan, no? The proteins for the stability ng retroviral capsule, yung P24, P17, P7P9. Next, we have the polymerase or the Pol proteins. This is essential for the viral life cycle. So, para mas magtagal siya, andito yung tinatawag nating reverse transcriptase, integrase, saka yung proteases. Next, we have the envelope proteins. So, envelope, nasa pangalan niya na mismo, Ibig sabihin, para sa pag-adhere dun sa target cell niya. So, envelope proteins are ENV proteins, adherence to target cell, and cytopathic cell fusion. So, dito, GP120 and GP142. So, please take note of this, no? Yung mga numbers na yan. Importante yan kasi lumalabas yung mga yan sa board exam. Okay? And that's it. So, thank you. If you have any questions, email nyo lang ako dito. Okay? Thank you and God bless.